Hello and thank you for joining us on World Now. I am Olamide Adeyemi. Overnight blasts have been heard in Jerusalem and in the Iranian capital Tehran as Iranians mark the Persian New Year in Nowruz. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel will hold off attacks on Iranian gas fields after being asked to halt attacks against it by the United States President Donald Trump. And elsewhere, the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia and Bahrain have reported missile and drone attacks on their territories. The state media says a drone attack on Kuwait's oil refinery caused an outbreak of fire. And President Donald Trump says the United States had no advanced knowledge of an Israeli strike on a major Iranian natural gas field, which prompted Iran to retaliate against neighboring Qatar, causing oil prices to soar. Mr. Trump did not stop there. He vowed to massively blow up the entirety of the field if Iran attacked Qatar again. In another development, President Trump says he has no plans to deploy ground troops anywhere, and that was actually his response to journalists when he was asked if he plans to deploy American troops to the Middle East. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel acted alone in the strikes on Iran's South Pars natural gas field, which is part of the world's largest natural gas field. He also added that President Trump was not dragged by Israel into the war with Iran. Let's have this conversation with journalist Francis Hughes. She joins me from Northern Ireland. It's good to have you join us at this time. Now, we have seen missile and drone attacks reported in the UAE, Saudi Arabia and also Bahrain, including a strike on a Kuwaiti oil refinery. What does this widening scope really tell us about the direction this conflict is heading?
Well, it appears that the war is being expanded and that red lines are being crossed, both by the Zionist entity and the North American administration. I mean, when you put it in context, this was an undeclared illegal war on the people of Iran. While they're claiming that what they want is regime change, it appears that what they're doing is destroying civil infrastructure and civilian lives. The attack upon the school children, the attack upon hospitals, the attack upon emergency response ambulance crews and civic police stations, and now oil refineries, and now gas, LNG stations, proves that what's happening is the war is being expanded. The attack upon the energy, you could say it's a response to the partial closure of the Straits of Hormuz. And that what the Americans and Israelis are saying is if you don't let oil through the Straits, then we are going to bomb your infrastructure. But I personally believe that this attack has been well planned, well organised, well executed. If you remember what happened in Syria, one of the first things the American administration did with troops on the ground was to hijack and steal and occupy the oil stations and the oil pumping facilities and the oil fields in Syria in order to deny the Syrian Arab Republic the revenue that brought to the country, which supplied hospitals, education, schools, and civil infrastructure. So it could be simply just revenge. It could be they're trying to bring the Iranian economy further onto its knees after sanctions that have been in place, these illegal coercive measures since 1979, which have been increased recently. It could simply be trying to bring Iran to its knees economically.
Francis, it could also be about the larger picture, taking over the Iranian territory. There are speculations as to that. But talking about, this being more than what it is or what we are seeing at the moment, do you believe President Donald Trump's, statement saying that the United States was not really involved in these attacks, especially the recent one on the gas field, now prompting Iran to retaliate on Qatar? Do you believe that statement, and how significant is this in terms of, diplomacy and the messaging?
Is it culpable deniability when someone says, I didn't know this was going to happen? There is a joint resource room operations room where all these operations that are targeted upon Iranian civilian life and civilian infrastructure are organised and perpetrated and carried out in a joint operations military centre. I don't believe personally anything that Donald Trump says. I believe that everything we hear in the public domain through the State Department and through the Knesset and through the IOF statements. These are all part of the propaganda war. The fact that Netanyahu visited the White House on more than 7 occasions within 12 months, to me is an indication that this has been planned over the last 12 months. If you remember the 12-day war in June last year, another illegal undeclared war upon the Iranian people. If you remember the riots that took place in January, I visited Tehran between the 28th of December and the 3rd of January, just before the outbreak of the civil disturbance. We heard people say from the American administration that Mossad was walking the streets of Iran along with armed terrorists. That's my interpretation of what happened. So I don't believe anything Trump says. I think all we have to do is watch their actions. And I believe that someone in the Israeli administration, after the bombing of the gas fields, said that this was done in cooperation and in conjunction with the American administration. So to come out afterwards and say, I didn't know anything about this, so please don't attack the energy structures in West Asia. Let us bomb yours, but don't retaliate by bombing anybody else.
But beyond the open support that we have seen the United States, really providing to Israel in this matter, especially with the war in Iran, we cannot specifically say that the United States, President Trump in particular, was aware of this latest attack on the gas field. Can we?
Well, it's interpretation. If you believe what he says now, do you believe everything he said before that, everything he said in the past? How many times has this man said something in the morning and something done a complete 180-degree U-turn in the afternoon or the following day? I don't believe anything he says. I think everything that comes out in the public domain is part of a propaganda war. I think he wants Iran to control its response to Israel and not to involve Western Asia, when it is claimed by the Iranian government that the bases in West Asia are being used to bomb civilians in Iran and civilian infrastructure, and they are legitimate targets. So I refer to the fact that this is an illegal war on Iran. It's an attack on their sovereign independence. It's an attack on the civilian people. Iran has the right to defend itself. It has said consistently all along that it would hold the countries where bases are used to attack Iran culpable as part of the ongoing illegal war on Iran. And we just have to remember the ongoing genocide in Gaza. It's American bombs being dropped by Zionist aircraft, by Zionist tanks, and by the Zionist Navy. This is an American war on Muslims in West Asia.
I'm so sorry to quote you. This now raises the question about how close the world is to a full-blown global energy crisis. We see that despite the United States, Israel also saying that the United States has no role in this latest attack. The president has now warned and threatened to destroy major Iranian gas infrastructure if these attacks continue. We've seen Iran also responding, perhaps of major consequences that could engulf the entire world. How dangerous is this escalation from both sides?
Well, you're using the term escalation. The people who are escalating this war are the Americans and are the Zionists. They started bombing the oil storage facilities. They started bombing the gas fields. Iran is simply using its strategic military power to escalate in comparison. It's in, what's that called? There's a phrase where you're using the same amount of power in response to the power and violence that's visited upon you. So Iran is not escalating. Iran is reacting to the escalation. So if you bomb their infrastructure, they're going to bomb your infrastructure. If you bomb their energy capacity, they're going to bomb yours. The elephant in the room is the Mandeb Straits and whether or not Yemen will close them. And if that happens, you will see a huge impact upon world energy prices. We already see them going up in Ireland, but, you know, it's a very small effect because what happens is people put in £20 or £30 in the gas tank, in petrol, in diesel. The price of natural gas has gone up so that home heating and home heating oil has become more expensive. This will have an effect on individuals, but industry in some countries, especially in Western Europe, are really going to struggle. When the energy prices go high enough, you may see factories stopping to produce their products, and this will have a knock-on effect on unemployment.
You know, I
This
agree
all
with
depends
you.
how long it continues.
Well, this now makes, those who are relying particularly on this global energy supply chain, more vulnerable across the world, like you have mentioned. But we know that the United States is a major energy producer. Do you think with the global, rise in prices, is this likely to fully impact the United States as much as the rest of the world?
I think it absolutely will. And simply because the American economy is built on the capitalist system of profit. So whenever the international price of oil goes up, unless the American government subsidizes oil prices in America, you're going to have the same profit-driven greed that is the bulwark of capitalism. So the companies will put the prices up, they will make millions while ordinary people struggle. And just as an aside, in the Second World War, Europe was destroyed, parts of Africa were destroyed, China and Japan. So the whole industrial base of the majority of the world was destroyed in the Second World War. That allowed North America to become the dominant economic power in the world. And you had the halcyon days of the 50s, 60s and 70s in America where ordinary people aspired to a lavish lifestyle. America is not affected by what's happening now. And they may actually think that they will be able to rebuild their economy by watching West Asia and China and India and other countries struggle economically, and they feel they could step into that vacuum and make more money for the American oligarchs.
We'll wait out to see what this will really mean for the rest of the world, hoping that President Donald Trump does not carry out his latest threat on Iran. That's a fine place to leave the conversation for now. Thank you for talking to us at this time, journalist Francis Hughes.
Salam. Thank you.